All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to class. Come on in, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Loretta.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Pamela. Did you get some lunch or a snack?
Yes, I did. And my camera doesn't want to work, so sorry I can't turn it on so you see me. It kept cutting out.
So. Oh, yeah. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Max, for that. Yeah, I just went and had a quick little bite to eat a couple eggs. I've got my little drink here. Because I started this morning, my first class was at 8 this morning, for me, 8 o'clock. So I don't really eat usually, don't eat till around 9-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I had tea and toast.
Oh, yeah, you were just in that class. That's right.
So I just had a sandwich with, turkey and lettuce and tomato on it. So I'm like, well, that'll kind of help the tea and toast.
Yes, I know. It's funny for anybody of you wondering about the tea and toast. We talk about that in basic nutrition class, just about that tea and toast syndrome. It's actually a real thing, and how it, you can get not lazy, but just if you live on your own, you can sometimes just get tired of cooking all the time. So we stop doing that, and we end up just having tea and toast for lunch or for dinner as our dinner a lot of times. All right, so welcome everyone. Come on in. I'm going to just get my chat box open. Perfect. So we have Anthony from support here today to help us with our tech issues or tech questions. You just send them a message in the chat if you'd like, if you've got a problem with anything. I don't know, Pamela, if he can help you figure out how to turn your camera on or what the problem is there. But anyway, so welcome. I'm going to share my screen now.
I need a new computer. It's not something they can fix.
Okay, it's just a sort of older computer. Yeah, I know. I think I needed, well, my computer's not bad. The thing I don't like about getting a new computer is having to learn something new, because inevitably they put some new fancy thing on it, and I don't recognize how to use it. That's the only thing I don't like about getting new computers. But hey, we have Get Set Up now to help us with figuring out how to use our new technology. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now. So you are in the correct place if you are here to hear about optimal brain health. This is actually the very first class that I created. So when I first started working here as a guide, I was thinking about health and wellness, and I was thinking about my health coaching business that I have, that I have on the side as well. And I thought, what's the question I get asked the most? And it was really a lot around mental health, like brain health, and how do we stop ourselves from getting dementia or something like that. So I thought I'll start with this class. That's kind of where the origins of this class are from. Now I started teaching here at Get Set Up in beginning of February. I started in January, did my training, and then I started teaching. I think my first class was in beginning of February, and yeah, I just really loved it. And I started as a learner, just like you. I was coming here as a learner. And then I thought, heck, I could do this. Right now, we're doing a lot of online things because we can't be in person. So what a great way to meet people from all over the place. So I really love it. I love mentoring. I like to help anybody one-on-one or in a group setting, anything to do with health, wellness, personal growth, just living a vibrant life. Hence, I call myself a vibrant living coach. So we are recording the class today. So if you would like a copy of this particular class that you're in participation in, you can ask for that at the end. You just send an email to help@getsetup.io. It's up on the screen, and it's also in the chat if you're missing that. We do live stream some of our classes, and I do believe we're live streaming right now. A lot of the health and wellness classes, they seem to like to stream, because I seem to often have my class streamed, which is lovely. It just means we're reaching out to more people. On our website now, you can click the little icon, little TV icon, and it will take you right into whatever class is going on at the moment. And you can sort of, you get a peek into it, you get to hear it, you get to see it. They can't see you, they don't know you're watching, but you know, so that's why I always go hello to all of you out there. And then lastly, we don't get paid any kickbacks for any products or services I talk about. And I do often talk about certain things that I love, that I use, that maybe I'd like to share that knowledge with all of you. Now, we may have people in class that have done this class once before, and you're absolutely welcome to be here a second, a third, a fourth, however many times you want to take this. If it's a good reminder for you, maybe you take this class once a month so you can remind yourself about brain health or whatever class it is you're taking for a second or third time. And we do often get some newbies in here that are either their I don't know, maybe partners of Get Set Up, or people want to find out, like, what are these classes all about? So we welcome all of you as well. And hey, you might just learn something. I had a few younger people in class once, and I think they were going to be doing a little internship, I think, with Get Set Up. So I love when new people show up. Let's get started then. Did I introduce myself? Yes, Ravina. I said my name is Ravina, and most of you I've met. Most of you I recognize your faces or your names, even from like an hour ago. Hi, Veronica. So that's great. All right. So what are we going to learn today? So we got lots of great stuff to learn. We're going to learn the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. That's a biggie. We hear it all the time. We hear them used interchangeably. So let's find out, let's get down to the root of it and find out what it actually means. We're going to understand risk factors that are in our control to help us reduce our risk of getting dementia. Wouldn't that be nice that we actually have something in our control to help us to not get dementia? I don't think anybody here would like to get dementia. It's not a fun one. Who wants to start to lose their mind basically? No, none of us do, I'm sure. We're going to also learn about brain health foods. This is my favorite part because anything to do with food, I get excited about. We'll also learn about some body practices that will help fuel, train, and exercise our brain. And I do believe that that's also an important part, not just the nutrition, but also looking at what kinds of things can we do to train our brain, keep our brain active. You guys are doing one of the things right now. We'll get into that in a little bit. All right. Does anybody have a question before we get started, or have a comment, or? All right, let's get started. So I always like to ask this question in the beginning because I was just astounded when I was doing my research. I mean, I've been a nurse for 30 some years, and I've been around dementia and stuff like that, but I really didn't know the answer to this question. So I'm going to ask you all, how many different types of dementia are out there right now? Now, if you've taken the class before and you know the answer, don't shout it out. But for anybody who has not done that, any ideas? Pamela says no idea. I had no idea either. Kathy? Yeah. Oh, 5? You think around 5? Yeah. When I was first trying to figure it out, I was counting them on my hand, which ones I remember or I've heard of. And I've been in nursing, so I've been around a lot of dementia with dementia clients, patients. All right, so there are actually, get this, over 400 types of dementia. Over 400. That blew me away. I thought, I can't believe, how can there be that many types? Well, there actually are. We're not going to talk about every single one of them today, but we are going to talk about a few of them. And I just want your brain to start thinking about, if there's over 400, have I forgotten about something, or is something I've heard of, but I didn't realize it was a type of dementia? So what do you think is the most common type of dementia? The number one common type of dementia? You can just quickly put it in the chat, or you can just take yourself off of mute. Any guesses on the most common? No?
Is it vascular dementia?
Sorry, were you at, what was that again, Brenda?
Is it vascular dementia?
Well, that's a guess. That's a good guess, but let's let's and and sometimes it's based on what our experience is. If we have personal experience, like a family member or somebody in our neighborhood, we know about a certain disease because we have a neighbor down the street that has it. Actually, the most common is Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's. That's why we hear about Alzheimer's a lot, because it actually is 60 to 80% of all our dementias. So just think about that for a second. You have the umbrella term dementia, and then you have 400 that come down below that dementia. Alzheimer's takes up that big chunk. It takes up like about 60 to 80% is Alzheimer's. That's why we're all quite concerned about Alzheimer's. You might have a memory care facility in your neighborhood. We often joke about, forgetting where our keys are, and we just think, oh boy, am I losing my mind? Or maybe we don't joke about it now that we're older, but when we were younger, I do remember joking about when I was younger going, oh my gosh, I'm getting Alzheimer's or I'm getting dementia. Maybe when you're over 50, we don't joke about that anymore. So 60 to 80%, because sometimes people are misdiagnosed. Sometimes people are diagnosed like they're misdiagnosed, so incorrectly diagnosed, or they're missed altogether because maybe a couple or a person's in denial that they have a problem, so they don't get diagnosed. So the number is roughly 60 to 80%, which is a huge amount. So in that vein, what about the second most common type of dementia, now that you kind of have your wheels turning a bit? Any ideas? The second most common is vascular dementia. That's the name, vascular dementia. So you probably, maybe or you haven't heard about vascular dementia. That's the type of dementia that can develop after you've had a stroke. So not like the teeny tiny mini stroke where you don't even realize you had a stroke, and then your doctor looks at your scan and whatever, and says, you had a mini stroke. Not that. More of a significant type of stroke. And often you develop this vascular dementia because you've had that oxygen deprivation to your brain. So this leads me to think about, when we've got a family member, or maybe a couple family members, maybe you got two uncles that both have dementia, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it runs in my family. Oh, am I going to get dementia? Well, think about what type of dementia they have. If they both have vascular dementia, that's really around lifestyle and environment and how their lifestyle is. Not to say that every stroke is based on lifestyle, but a lot of things go into, if you've taken the stroke class, which I haven't yet, I should take it here at Get Set Up. So, we could all have a stroke. It's not holding back on any one of us, but there's obviously some things that cause you to be more at risk. So not to think that if you've got family members with vascular dementia, that means you're going to get dementia. So now that we're talking a little bit about it, how many of us think that dementia is part of normal aging? Any of us think it is? Because it seems to be pretty darn common as we age, doesn't it? Seems like it. Sue was just mentioning, or she just mentioned, so just to be clear, dementia is the umbrella term. And then we got all 400 types. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So you could say, yes, Alzheimer's is a dementia, not dementia. Dementia is not Alzheimer's. So dementia is the umbrella term, and then all the ones come below. So a lot of people use them inseparable. So they might say, oh, my grandmother's got dementia, or my grandmother's got Alzheimer's, and they use it interchangeably. But they're both correct, because your grandma might have dementia, but her specific type of dementia is Alzheimer's. So hopefully that clears it up for anybody who's confused. When somebody says they have, like, you wouldn't say to somebody who has vascular dementia that they have Alzheimer's, because they don't. That's a very specific type of dementia. So the answer to this question, do you think it's part of normal aging? The answer to this is no. Dementia is not part of normal aging. You would think it might be because it's so common, But in fact, most of us will have our memories and our life experiences fully able to remember those things, share them with people. You know, maybe our memory's not as sharp as it was when we were younger, but you will still have good memories right throughout your lifetime. So dementia is not inevitable, okay? So don't think like it's all downhill after 65. That's not true. However, I didn't say but, I said however, 40% of us over the age of 65 will have some form of some kind of memory impairment. And we actually have a name for that. It is not a dementia. It's not one of the 400. This is totally separate. It's age associated memory impairment. So again, like I said, maybe your memory is not as sharp as it was when you were 20. Maybe you just can't get your, you can't remember phone numbers. Well, who remembers phone numbers anyways? None of us. We got it all in our phones now. The days of remembering someone's phone number, saying, here's my phone number. We don't even do that now. We barely know our own phone number, right? I'm sure you guys will laugh at this. Somebody asks for a phone number. We say, well, here, let me just put it in your phone, or let me just send you an email, and then you've got like it's so silly. Half of us don't even remember phone numbers anymore. However, this age-associated memory thing is still only 40% of us after age 65. So still not all of us. When my mom passed away, she had the best memory. I mean, we miss mom every single moment of every day. I miss my mom. But the big, and I shouldn't say but, one of the main things, she was, first of all, she was a loving, lovely lady. But she had this great memory. If any one of us kids, or even my dad, wanted to, what's the name of so-and-so cousin, blah, blah, my mom remembered everything. She remembered everybody's birthday. Now that we don't have her, that first year, I missed my nephew's birthday because, well, I was still in grieving, but because I didn't have my mom to remind us. So here's one of the most asked question I get from clients, patients, anybody that finds out that I'm in nursing and have medical background. I get this question, you know, I've got somebody with Alzheimer's in my family. Does that mean I'm going to get it? People are worried about that and scared about that. So this is a question. This is the most common question. So I wanted to put that in this presentation. The answer, the simple answer is no. No. So Alzheimer's disease is what we call sporadic. Sporadic is meaning that it does not run in families. Isn't that good to know? Well, Alzheimer's is 60 to 80% of all dementias, and thank goodness it's sporadic. It doesn't run in families. Now, when I say that, I mean there's a very small percentage, like around 5%, that is inherited, meaning the gene is passed from somebody down to you. Only around 5%, and we call that familial. So like family related, familial. Now, the good news about this is it's, first of all, it's a very, very small amount. It is a very specific gene that gets passed in into your DNA. Most of us here are like 50 and older. I'm going to guess that most of us are 50 and older. The type of familial Alzheimer's typically shows up way earlier than 50 plus. Like a person who has the familial type of Alzheimer's, they would have felt some symptoms probably in their 30s already or 40s. So if you have had not like significant issues, now I'm not talking about, oh, I can't find my keys, or darn it, you know, I can't remember that address, or I can't remember going to a certain place. A lot of that could be chronic stress and not sleeping well. Those are the two big ones. If you have, are you worried and you came to this class, you're like, oh my gosh, I think I've got dementia. If you're not sleeping well and you are not getting, so you're not getting a good night's sleep, and you've got some kind of underlying chronic stress, whether it's the noisy neighbor, or you're worried about money, or you've got some kind of low-lying worry that's constantly there, that can affect your memory. So think about that. Now, I don't want to, familial Alzheimer's is a scary thing, right? If you're a young person and so when I say runs in the family, it needs to be a mother or father or a sibling, so a brother or sister, direct family, not like second cousin or, uncle removed, anything like that. We're talking about a direct family member. That's how you can know that you might have the familial type. Now, if you have more than one, and you've got two in your family with Alzheimer's directly related, your chances go up quite a bit. So that's not to scare anybody, but I'm assuming if most of you are here and you haven't had any significant memory issues, likely you don't have the familial one. So I just want to be clear on that, because I had somebody in one of my classes that had it run in their family and they were quite concerned about it, and they didn't want us to not think that the familial thing is an important aspect of it. It is. So basically, if the largest part of Alzheimer's is the sporadic type, why do we get it? We want to know this, right? So we can avoid it. It's due to a complex combination of our genes, our environment, and our lifestyle. So isn't that kind of good news? It's kind of good news, right? Our genes, our environment, and lifestyle. Because to me, environment and lifestyle, I have some control over, or a lot of control over. Connie's asking about a grandparent, a direct family member. Now, when I was doing the studies on this, it really did talk about a mother, father, brother, or sister. It didn't mention grandparent, but I could double check that and then get back to you. There's a question. Sorry, I'm going to butcher your name if I say it. How do you say your name?
Don't worry about it. Yep. Come on.
There you are.
There you go. Boy, I was pressing on the key there and it didn't want to do what I wanted it to do.
No worries.
It's Detlef.
Detlef.
You
Thank
mentioned that the chance goes up dramatically if you have more than one direct family member that has Alzheimer's. I have a sister who died of Alzheimer's last year.
Mm-hmm.
I have another sister who also has Alzheimer's and it's advancing. My grandmother died of Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
How much does the chance go up when you have more than one family?
So Anthony's putting a few little notes in the it basically, it does increase. Now, I mean, I'm going to guess that you're over 50. Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm over 70.
Okay. And how's your memory? You feeling, pretty chipper? And
It's something that's been concerning me for a number of years. That occasionally I have a problem remembering simple things like I don't remember what type of tree that is or what that particular type of flower is. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that I lose my keys. Those things aren't there. It's the fact that I can't remember particular terms. And
Mm-hmm.
when I speak with somebody, I can't express myself properly because I'm trying to find the terms as I am with you right now, and I can't find the proper
word finding. Yeah, we call that word finding. Like you're trying to find a specific word. It's on the tip of your tongue, or it's not even anywhere there, and there's that specific word. So what I would suggest is, so you're in your 70s already, which is fantastic. So a lot of times, as I mentioned, when it's the DNA type, the genetic code that you've got, when it comes to Alzheimer's, it usually shows up quite significantly when we're younger. You might be more prone maybe to having the age related impairment. So what I would suggest for you is to talk to your doctor. There is a specific test you can get done. It's genetic testing. They will not do it just on any old person, but if you have a direct family member with Alzheimer's, especially if you have more than one, they are more apt to do this test so that you can find out once and for all if you do have that those genetics in you. And it's great. At this point, you're 70. If you were 40, I would just say, you know what, live your life, enjoy your life. Let's not, get too worked up about getting blood work done. But you're in your 70s. And if you are worried about what's going to happen from 70 to 80, and maybe you'd like to make some future plans to get into a really great older adult facility that has a memory care area that will help you when you need it, then I would say go for it. Talk to your doctor, get some testing done and find out. And that's why I do talk about it a bit, because I don't want to scare people, but I have family members with Alzheimer's. I know I do, like kind of not right in my direct family, but others. My mom died at 71, so maybe she would have developed Alzheimer's. I don't know. So that's what I would suggest for you. But keep in mind, if you're under any kind of chronic stress, and especially if we start to worry about something, then it makes it worse, right? We're worrying about it. Maybe your sister's just has passed away, or you've had some like real big issues, and all of a sudden it comes to the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are older than I am. One of them is 90. She's still alive, but she has symptoms. And the other one that died last year was 88 at the time, and she didn't have any symptoms until she was, in her upper 70s.
Okay.
So they didn't show up when they were younger, and she was still independent at that point.
Okay. Well, that's all good news, isn't it? I mean, if that's the case, it didn't hit them till they were quite a bit later. But nowadays we have such amazing facilities with memory care sections, or a whole facility that's all for memory care. So we have like the best care ever with dementia, specifically with Alzheimer's. We know so much more. Unfortunately, we don't have a cure yet, but they certainly are working on it. So that's what I would suggest for you. And not be afraid, because you know what, like lots of things can happen to us when we hit 78, 79, right? I mean, there could be other physical things going on. Oh, yeah. So I'm glad you're here at class. That's great. And thank you for sharing your story. So again, we got our genes, our environment, and lifestyle. Those are the three things. So this is what we're going to learn today, are risk factors. What are the risk factors? So we'd hear the word risk factor always related to a medical condition. So what are the risk factors related to diabetes? What are the risk factors related to heart disease? Today, we're going to find out what are the risk factors related to getting dementia. Now, what are risk factors? Well, they are the characteristics of our lifestyle, our environment, and our genetic background. There's those three words again: lifestyle, environment, genetic background, that increase our likelihood of getting a disease. So that's the key, the likelihood. It doesn't mean that because you have this, you are going to get that. It increases the chances of getting a disease. Risk factors increase the probability of getting a disease. So you see, it's about the ratios, the probability. So there's two things that are out of our control. Two things. Our age, we all are going to age. Every year we turn another year older. And our genetics, for the most part, we can't really manipulate our genetics. Our genetics are what we got. That's what we're born with. But we're going to talk about 12 things that are in our control, because that's what means that makes the most sense. All right, so these are, we're going to go through these risk factors. Now, I know Sue's asking me a couple questions here. I would say this, Sue, any type of ailment or thing that happens in our bodies that might cause one of these things that we're going to go through, all these lists, to get out of whack, can definitely be a risk factor towards developing dementia. So I'll give you an example. The first one, blood pressure. For any of you who have high blood pressure and you don't get it taken care of, you are at higher risk of getting dementia, period. So if you have high blood pressure, you know you have high blood pressure, or you think you might have high blood pressure, get it checked. If you can get it checked, you can take care of it, get on the medication that your doctor recommends, or do the things that you need to do to get it back in place, get rid of that stressor that's causing you to have high blood pressure, get it into the norm. And now you have taken care of that risk factor. You give it green check mark, that one's taken care of. So that's how we look at blood pressure. Smoking is a tough one. If you're a smoker, I would suggest, if you don't want to get dementia, then you stop smoking. Smoking, you are at 45% higher risk of getting dementia if you smoke. 45% higher risk. You have a 45% higher chance of getting dementia because you smoke versus your friend who does not smoke. I wouldn't want to take that risk. I would get rid of that if I could. So try to seek out help to get yourself off of your cigarettes. Cholesterol levels is very close to like how I talked about blood pressure. If you have high cholesterol and you don't take care of it, you're at higher risk of getting dementia. So with cholesterol, seek the doctor, get the blood work done, check and see where it's at. If it's bad, get on whatever you need to do to get your, drastically change what you're putting in your mouth. Maybe go on medication for a period of time to get it back into the normal range. Again, if you can take care of it and get it into the normal range, then you don't have that risk factor anymore. Both blood pressure and cholesterol can have a hereditary component, meaning you could be in the best shape of your life. Maybe you've got an optimal weight. You're feeling pretty healthy, but darn it, you've got that high blood pressure. It can be hereditary, unfortunately. So it's not your fault, but you do need to take care of it. Same with cholesterol. Some cholesterol, heart disease, things like that run in families. You can have a hereditary component. So don't beat yourself up if your cholesterol is high. Just take a look at what you're putting in your mouth and take a look at maybe trying to go on a medication if your doctor is recommending that. The next one's obesity and lack of exercise, physical exercise. I put those hand in hand because if you see somebody who is obese, likely they don't move their body very much. Likely they don't move it very much. That's the bottom line. There could be other reasons for their weight gain and their obesity, but most likely they are not moving their bodies. I mean, and it's a sad, sad story. There are people who move less and less. Their knees hurt, their ankles hurt, everything hurts. They're moving less and less. They get bigger and bigger. Some people can't even leave their homes anymore. And it's a reality in the United States and in Canada. We have some people who are that overweight. They can't even go out to go grocery shopping. And then what happens? Family members or friends enable them to stay fat, basically, and bring them the food. And I'm not talking about lovely rainbow of vegetables. They're bringing in, maybe the not so good food. So if we can move our bodies is so important. If we are in the overweight category, which I fall in the overweight category right now, I'm still trying to get down another 20 pounds. I'm not, I don't think I'm considered obese, although maybe at some point in my life, depending on, I'm 5'9", I'm quite tall actually. So with that height, you can put on some pounds and not even notice it. I don't know if it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. But obesity or having quite a bit of weight that you're carrying around puts you at higher risk of dementia. So let's try to get that managed a little bit better. Diet. I talk about diet. Basically, do you eat a crappy diet? If you're eating fast foods, processed foods, packaged foods as your majority of your foods, then you're not eating a great diet. You're having high fats. We all know about the sodium that they shove in all those packaged foods, the high sugars. Your body, you're not being kind to your body. You are at higher risk of getting dementia. Alcohol. I'll talk about alcohol real simple. If you're an excessive drinker, you are putting yourself at higher risk of getting dementia. What is excessive drinking? I'll leave that definition to all of you. But basically, if you don't have freedom from alcohol, and when I say freedom from alcohol, somebody who's an alcoholic, functional alcoholic will know what I mean. Do you have freedom from alcohol? If your buddy, you're out for a walk with someone, they said, hey, let's go for a drink, and you go sit somewhere and someone buys you a drink, could you say no? Could you say not this time, but thank you anyways, I'll just have a soda? Do you have freedom from not having that alcohol? Then you might not be have a problem. But if you have to have that drink because it's free, it's a company, you're at a wedding, for example, and it's free booze, do you have to drink? Then you might not have food, alcohol freedom. I talk about food freedom as well, but alcohol freedom. If you binge drink every single weekend, do you have alcohol freedom? Maybe not. So those are the people I'm not talking about the social drinker, the having a glass of wine with your friend or having a glass of wine with dinner. social drinking, that's fine. I'm talking about the excessive drinking or the consistent drinking that puts you into a higher risk of dementia. Then there's the levels of formal education. You are all here. Fantastic. You are lifelong learners. You're learning in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I love that. You are using your brain. Use it or lose it. That goes a long way. If you stop educating yourself and keeping your brain active, you are at higher risk of getting dementia. That's a key one right there. So if you think you're too old to learn a new language or to learn a new instrument or take up Pilates or I don't know what some young millennial things these days that they do. I mean, if you think you're too old to do those things, think again. Why not learn something new? Why not use the right side of your brain and learn something creative? Depression. Depression's a little bit of a tough one because the researchers are half and half. Some think that if you have depression, that is a risk factor for getting dementia. Others think it's an early symptom of dementia. So in any way you want to look at it, if you have depression, get some help for it. There's cognitive behavioral therapy that helps with depression. There's some antidepressant medications that are very helpful. There's other talk therapy. There's changing your diet to help improve your depression symptoms. So there's lots of things we can do to improve if we have depression. Head injuries. This one kind of makes sense. You know, if you're going to bang your head severely or you're going to have repeated banging on your head, that's putting you at higher risk of dementia. Where do we see head injuries? Where do we see this in society? Anybody want to shout that out? Where do we think we see head injuries?
Football.
Yes, all those heavy duty sports. Football is huge. I mean, those guys, those defense people, they go with their head. We have rugby here in Canada, maybe in the States you have rugby. What about soccer? Those guys, they all jump up together and head the ball. Sometimes they head each other by accident, or they get a foot in their head. Soccer can be quite aggressive that way. What else? What are some of the worst ones? I'm thinking like, yes, in a car accident, absolutely, Sue. Car accidents, you can have a head injury. Falling off your bike, you can have a head injury. What about boxing? Oh my God, isn't that just all it is hitting each other's heads? They're usually going for the head or the neck or something like that. And wrestling, you're doing a lot of tackling. So, you know, they've done studies on boxers. And yeah, there's actually a real big correlation between being a boxer and eventually getting dementia, Alzheimer's later on in life. A dementia or Alzheimer's, including Alzheimer's. Hearing loss is a funny one. Hearing loss is kind of like the blood pressure and the cholesterol. If you've got some hearing issues and you don't take care of it, you start to isolate yourself in life. It just goes without saying. You go to a family function, there's just two of you, you can hear no problem, you're reading lips. Then the grandkids come in and the noise starts, and now there's three voices at the same time and you can't hear anything. What do? You go sit in the corner, you're quiet, you kind of like withdraw a little bit. So if you constantly do that and you're stubborn to not get a hearing aid or some kind of aid to help you, you are at higher risk of getting dementia. That's a tricky one. My dad is still stubborn. He will not get a hearing aid. He doesn't want to look old. And I say to him, Dad, they don't have these hearing aids that sit there like this on your ear. I mean, you can barely even see them anymore. He doesn't want to get one. So, so far he's able to read lips. He's not even that deaf, really. He just, as soon as my nephews are in the room and there's too much talking, he can't hear anything then. He just tunes out. All right, these are the last two that I find the most fascinating. Lack or poor sleep. Any of you have not great sleep? All right, so sleep, so important. I'm going to describe it to you this way. When we are sleeping, that is when our body is doing its repair. And by repair, we could be doing things like, our brain is doing things like, the brain goes in there and flushes through the neurons. The brain's doing its flushing. So you need to be hydrated. You have to get good water in your life. When you're sleeping, When I mean sleeping, you have to go from your light sleep down into your REM sleep and then into your deep sleep. Some of us don't go to deep sleep very often. That's a problem. You need to get to deep sleep, because when you're in deep sleep, your liver can do its cleaning. Your brain, what it does is it clears out all the little tiny particles that are called amyloid betas. Those are little tiny particles of protein that get stuck in the neurons of our brain. So what happens if you don't clear them out? It's like brushing them out with like a little hairbrush, like a little brush. If you don't brush those little particles out, guess what happens? They turn into plaque. How many times have they done autopsies on Alzheimer's patients, dementia patients? Guess what they find? They find plaque on the brain. We're getting close to cures, but we haven't gotten there yet. But what causes it? Well, let's just say, who cares what causes well, we care, but let's just say, doesn't matter what caused the particles in our brain. Let's make sure our body cleans them out. So if you do not get a good night's sleep, you are not going to have a healthy brain. So please do some sleep hygiene to help you sleep better. I'm going to give you a quick 2 tips. Number 1, turn your digital devices off an hour to 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. That will help you sleep. Number 2, make sure your bedroom is cold. When I say cold, I mean like 60 some degrees. If you live in Florida, that might be tough. Maybe, I don't know, I guess air conditioning is not the best, but if you can cool your room down before you sleep, that will help you get into deeper sleep. Another option, if you live in a hot country, go in the shower and do a little bit of hot, cold, and end with the cold. That will refresh your body, cool yourself down, and you'll get a better night's sleep. So those are just a few little tips on sleep. The last one is around living near busy roads. Pollution. It's basically the pollution from the trucks and the cars. If you have your windows open or your balcony door open or your front door open, and the fumes, which you can't even sometimes smell, the particles come in, there is a direct relation between pollution and getting dementia. So if you live near a busy road, I'm near a very moderately busy road, so I'm okay. But guess what? After I studied this stuff on optimal brain, I saved up the money and we bought a Dyson machine, a Dyson air purifier for our house. Believe me, it sits on auto, which means it'll come on when it needs to. Guess what? If I open our balcony door, within about 2 minutes, the Dyson machine revs up. And I can't even tell the difference. But guess what? Pollution particles are coming into my home because of where I live. So please take that one serious. All right. So just as a summary here, like a review. Why do we get dementia? It simply develops because we have so many of these risk factors that it overwhelms our brain. Our brain is overwhelmed. There's too many things coming at it. This risk factor, this risk factor, this risk factor. Our brain doesn't have time to do its maintenance and keep us repaired, our brain repaired. So it gets behind, it falls behind, it falls behind. You know, you leave the door open all night. You don't have clean air that you're breathing. You are adamant about going and playing with the grandkids out in the backyard and not putting a helmet on or protecting your head. Whatever the risk factors are, you don't wear the hearing aid, you still decide to smoke, you're not taking care of your blood pressure. Can you see how your brain gets overwhelmed? So you're going to get a really beautiful handout in the post email. It's going to list actually 13 risk factors. I added a 13th one, which is diabetes. I didn't talk about it, but diabetes is also a risk factor. So I'm going to give you all of those things. I'm just going to maybe, let me just see here. Anthony, could you just look up a few of the air cleaning types of air purifiers out there? I'll say this, Dyson, D-Y-S-O-N, is a very expensive one. It's not necessarily the very best one. I think there are some that are a little bit less, or more affordable. When they've done compared tests with Dyson versus a few of these others. I bought the Dyson because I was worried after studying this class. After looking at this, I went, oh my gosh, I'm getting particles of pollution because I love to be out on my balcony for gardening, but the pollution's coming in. So we went out and bought the Dyson. It was about let me think. It might have been $700. They're expensive. They're not cheap. Not cheap. Anthony will put a few into the chat in just a few moments. All right, so let's move on real quick here because I want to spend some time on the foods at the end. All right, what can we do to keep our brain healthy? Number one, be active. Just be active. Get out there and do something, like have some movement every day. You know, Detlef, I know, you know, you have some concerns and you've got your two older sisters and it's concerning and so something worrisome. But while you're worrying, why not get out and move? Like start moving your body. Do everything you can to reduce all these risk factors and you'll be just fine. I think if you can just kind of take care of some of these things. I don't know if you smoke. I don't know if you've got diabetes, if your cholesterol levels are kind of but let's just all of us think about these things. So move your body. Think of it in a positive way. That's why I say movement versus exercise. The second thing we can do is be socially active. You know, come to Get Set Up, put your camera on, say hi to some people that you recognize, send them a message on the direct, you can directly message them and say, hey, I noticed you, Kathy, you're in the same classes. We've done the same 3 classes today. Isn't that awesome? Where do you live? I live wherever. Like, be socially active. We have to think of new creative ways to be socially active because right now we're not sitting in the backyard with our neighbors. Probably not because of COVID. So come up with some new ways to be socially active. Another one is to challenge your brain. I mentioned learning a new language. Guess what? I'm learning Japanese right now. I don't know many words, but I'm learning Japanese because we're going to be going to Japan next March. Fingers crossed that the borders are open. So I'm learning Japanese. It is not my native tongue. It is not a language I hear frequently out on the street. Like I hear French in Canada. But yes, puzzles, great idea. What about chess? Chess is not my thing. My brain doesn't think like chess, but how about just learning something new? We bought violins 4 years ago when we first met each other, and we took lessons for a year. I stopped the lessons, and guess what? It didn't stick because it's quite hard to play a violin. So I've lost all my violin, but I might just get back to it again. All right, other things, like just anything to challenge your brain, games, puzzles, word find, word searches. All right, embracing a healthy diet. We're going to get to this at the end, but we're going to talk about the exact foods, but basically reduce your processed foods if you can, because they're full of things like sodium and sugars and all those things to make it taste good. Those meats, not the unclean meats, the sweets, and a lot of dairy. Dairy, honestly, is not fabulous for us. Dairy is like inflammatory for us. So if you are finding that you're eating too much cheese, you're eating cheese every single day, and you're trying to be healthier for your brain, maybe consider eating a little bit less dairy every day because it's an inflammatory food. It actually causes inflammation in your body. And you know, you can get inflammation in your brain. Eating the rainbow. We're going to get to the foods in a sec. The other one, safe choices. Wear your eye protection, wear your ear protection when you're renovating, when you're cycling, when you're doing anything that could cause a fall or something unsafe. Even if you're fooling around with the grandkids or kids out in the backyard, like just be a little bit mindful of that. Managing your stress. This is a biggie. A lot of us are in chronic stress and we don't even know it. That was what as a health coach, that's the most common thing that I coach people on, is looking at their whole life, like all the different areas, and realizing that they're in chronic stress. They didn't even know it. COVID, pandemic, has that put us in a little bit of chronic stress? For a lot of us, yes. Last year, I was stressed. I will admit, I was stressed. I didn't like the uncertainty. I was worried. I was in a panic. I was like, I can't travel anymore. How am I going to go over and see my father? I'm not allowed to take the ferry to go over and see him. What if somebody ends up in a nursing home? I can't go visit them. Like, I was stressed last year. Things have sort of smoothed out a little bit. Like, we're feeling like there's some hope. This is going to end one day, hopefully soon. You know, all those things. So here we are at the brain foods. Now, before you panic about writing it all down, I'm giving you a second handout after this class that's going to list all the brain foods. So you can just listen and have a look, and you don't have to worry about writing it down unless you want to know right this second. But as soon as this class is over, I will send you out the email. All right, so I kind of stole this list from Jim Kwik, who is a brain expert. He is a guy, lovely guy. I've not met him in person, but I have read his book called Limitless. I think it's his first book. He has dedicated his life to brain health. This guy had a brain injury when he was young. That's how his story goes. And he struggled through school. But he made it his lifelong journey to passion to figure out how to get the brain to work better and then to share it with the world. He is like a world leader in this. So this is his top 10 brain foods. And I think I add a bonus thing at the end. I'm not sure if that's on his list, but I added a bonus for you. So here's the first 3. Avocados. I hope you like avocados. They are a fabulous food to help have good blood flow in your body, a good source of monounsaturated fats. We need good cholesterol in our body that will help increase that HDL. It's the LDL that we don't want. That's the bad one. Avocados are great. You can actually cut up avocado and put it in a hot soup. It's delicious in soup. In your smoothie, you can eat it on, people smash it on toast now. The millennials all do that, by the way. In Australia, they put Vegemite down on their toast and then they put their avocado. I love that. If you've had Vegemite or Marmite from England, it's a very salty thing. So you don't have to salt the avocado, but you put Vegemite and avocado. It's amazing. I love it. And then you feel so satisfied. And yeah, it's really great. Blueberries. Jim Kwik calls blueberries brain berries. He loves the blueberry. Full of antioxidants. What does it mean? They go into your body and it's like a Pac-Man, and it cleans up all those free radicals that have been created in your body. And that's just the aftermath of eating like not very great foods or foods that have oxidized. And you don't want free radicals. Free radicals are not a good thing. So blueberries come in and chomp and get rid of these free radicals. Awesome food. Fresh is great. Frozen is just as good. They're flash frozen. Have a bag of blueberries in your freezer. Throw it, put it in a bowl, let it sit out for a couple minutes, and you can just eat them plain. You can put them in your oatmeal. I put them in my smoothies. If you take my 7 healing foods course with 7 simple recipes, I give a really great blueberry vinaigrette recipe that's good for chicken and fish or salad. Broccoli, the poor little understated broccoli, really high in fiber, great for vitamin K. Your brain loves broccoli. You know, when you're a kid and your mom or dad told you to eat your broccoli, it really does help with your brain. Your brain likes broccoli a lot. Let's look at the next 4. Coconut oil. Some of us are a little scared of coconut oil because we think of it as a saturated fats being bad. Here's your exception. Coconut oil, your brain loves coconut oil. I like to cook with coconut oil because coconut oil has what they call a high smoke point, which means you can turn your stove up high, cook your stir fry or frying your fish or whatever you're doing, and it will not oxidize. If you do that with olive oil, you have ruined the olive oil. So when your olive oil is in the pan and the pan gets too hot, you forgot what you were doing, and now it's smoked, bad for you. Don't cook with that. Take that pan and put it aside, let it cool down and clean it off. You've oxidized the olive oil and now it's bad for you. It's like putting a toxin in your body. So you don't want to do that. So coconut oil is a great one to cook with. You can also have it raw, like you can put it in your smoothie. There's a thing called MTC oil that they talk about. That's like a coconut oil. What else? Eggs. If you can tolerate eggs and you like eggs and you're not like super concerned about cholesterol, eggs are a beautiful food. They have choline, which is helps with memory, specifically with memory, and they're full of omega-3s, which is, you really want that. What else? Green leafy vegetables. Can't say enough about those. They're packed full of calcium. We got our spinach, our kales, our collard greens. You can take pieces of it, freeze it in the freezer on a tray, and then put it in a bag, and you can throw the frozen pieces into your smoothie, and it will crunch it up way easier than if it was soft. So that's the key. If you've got a lot of spinach and you don't want it to go to waste, stick it in the freezer, like just lay it out flat in separate pieces so it can freeze separately, and then put it in a bag. Great way to get that into your diet. Salmon, I always talk about salmon because it's one of our oily fishes that has the high omega-3s, which you really, really want for brain health. Your brain really wants omega-3s. So if anybody here is not eating fish, and you don't like fish, or you're vegan or vegetarian, please get your omega-3s from flax seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, walnuts. A lot of nuts have omega-3s. So you need to get your omega-3s. That's my number one thing I would say to all older adults. If you're not getting, that's the number one thing I worry about. Are you getting enough omega-3? And then the last three, turmeric, that's a beautiful bright orange spice, not just an Indian food anymore. People are like putting a little bit in their porridge. They're putting it in their smoothies. They're putting it in soups. I use it when I make my deviled eggs. I mix it in with the yolk stuff, and it gives it nice color. And turmeric is the number one thing to reduce inflammation in your body. Number one natural remedy for reducing inflammation in your body. So consider turmeric. Walnuts. Isn't it interesting how the walnut kind of looks like a brain? You cut a walnut in half from the shell. It looks like a brain. It's amazing. The brain loves walnuts. So have a nice bag of walnuts, keep it in your fridge so it doesn't go rancid, and take out your little bowl and put a little handful of walnuts and eat a handful of walnuts every day. You'll be surprised at how your health may improve from eating walnuts. And then I've added dark chocolate because I think, why not? It helps stimulate endorphins. It helps us feel good. It helps us with focus, with concentration, and it helps to uplift our mood. So dark chocolate, meaning 70% or higher. So don't go for the, Halloween type candy. I mean, like the good chocolate, 70% or higher. And then lastly, I want to put here and tell you water. Water is absolutely imperative. We're about 75 to 80% water. So, and our brain needs water to do that little flush that it does when it gets rid of the things off the neurons. It needs water. So try to sip your water throughout the day as opposed to guzzling it down. If you go, oh gosh, I haven't drank anything today, and then you go and drink like 2 full glasses, guess where it ends up? You just pee it out like instantly. Sip your water, then the water goes into your cells. If you can sip your water. If you're super thirsty, sure, like guzzle it down, but then try to sip throughout the day. All right, so we got all our information in. Just a reminder, you're going to get 2 handouts, one with the risk factors, 13 risk factors, and one with the 10, and I think I've got water on there, with the healing foods. If you found that this class was a lot to take in, please come back and do the class again. I think it's important to just to hear it again sometimes. This is what we've done in summary. And there's lots of great classes where I talk about, I do eye health now, optimal eye health, that's tomorrow. I have an arthritis class, which is amazing. The diabetes class is coming out soon. So, if you don't have some of these ailments, that's great, but why not just learn how to prevent yourself from getting some of these ailments? I will be sending out that email in a few minutes, and you can also do feedback. I love to get feedback. You can start 1 to a 5 star. You just click on it, and then also add some comments so that we can improve on our classes. Thank you for all the nice, kind words you're putting in the chat for me. You can invite friends now to classes. That's awesome. And if you are new to Get Set Up, go on, make it part of your day. Get onto the Get Set Up, put your schedule up, take a look. Sometimes something that you think you've never been interested in, and you're like, I think I want to take that class. Like, I don't know, we have this craft lady now. She's from Australia, so her classes are later. She does some amazing things with things like toilet rolls. I thought, I don't know about that one, but I still want to take the class because I'm interested. if you're interested in suggesting a class or hosting an interest group, we'd love to hear from you. So I have a minute or so. I can stick around for a couple minutes, but if you have any questions for me, please, this is the time to ask your question.
Could you do a class on acid reflux, like GERD? Because that's very common for older people, and also osteoporosis.
Okay, I will write those ones down.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll think about those. I mean, as I'm going through, like my next class that I'm working on currently is about aging well. So it's I'm calling it improving our longevity. That's my next class.
That should be great.
I think I need to do something along the lines of gastrointestinal stuff like that. That could include the GERD. It can include IBS, like irritable bowel syndrome. I think a lot of us have something like that. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments? Anybody
And also maybe osteoporosis with the calcium, but that could be in longevity too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And if we don't use our bones, you know, our bones kind of get, you know, there.
Thank you.
Okay. And okay, Isabel is wanting to know about the book. So the name of the guy, the brain health guy, let me just see here if I can put it in the chat. Let me see here. He's great. He's got this really great book. So his name is Jim Kwik, and he always says that's how you spell my name. And his book is called Limitless. Fantastic book. Sorry if that's supposed to be an I. Limitless is the name of the book, and you can get it on Amazon. He's fantastic. This guy's so kind. He has a podcast. He's got like free podcast, free group membership group you can belong to. Anybody else? Yeah, so feel free to come back to the class because it's interesting. It can go different ways because sometimes I get asked different questions. And so I try to share what I learned from the previous class, but sometimes it doesn't come up. So feel free to share your own story. I really appreciate when you do that. I know it can be vulnerable when you do that, but it's really great to hear your questions or your concerns so that I can, if I don't have the information, I can look it up. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think if there was something I was going to look up. There was one thing. Yeah, I was going to look up something to do with the percentages for aging. Oh, look, I'm sorry. Somebody is making a huge noise here. Maybe Anthony, you can mute them. I'll look up how high the risk factor goes up if you have 2 family members and also grandparent. That was it, grandparent. So let me look up those things and I'll put that in the email to you all. All right, thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Stay safe, and I hope to see you in another class. I'm teaching 2 of them tomorrow. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.